Hello, this is Scott. Today I want to talk about data cleansing in the data health check node that's available in TIBCO Statistica Workbench. So let's get some messy data. So what I have here is I have a workspace, a visual canvas in the Workbench. And so if I want to look at this messy data, this could be a SQL um, connection, could be NoSQL, whatever format that I'm bringing in. Essentially here, it's just a simple spreadsheet. So I have roughly 20,000 rows and 24 variables. And so I have a number of categorical as well as continuous variables. I can see that I've got some problems with this data. I've got some holes in it. I've got missing data, both a lot of missing data here for this particular column. I've got some NAs, probably have some outliers, etc. So let me show you real quick how I can clean this data up within Workbench. So let me drop this, and then I'm going to go up to data and the data health check. This is an automated cleaning capability within Workbench. I just connect my node, I double click. The defaults work really well. I'm going to change just a couple, but you can see here, variables is obviously something that I have to do. The first variable is customer ID, which I probably would not want to clean as far as, missing data or outliers, etc. I could include that possibly for missing data, but I'm going to show you several things here, and that would actually be flagged in the tool as too many unique values within the column. So I'm going to skip that one. I'm going to flag these variables here, just 2 through 10 for comparison's sake, demo. And so I can actually select my lists, or I can have the tool do it for me. And I'm just going to let Statistica automatically separate the values in continuous and categorical variables. And so and I'm going to have it do automatic variable classification based upon these specifications. I'm not going to change anything here. Sparsity, I can define sparsity however I want. So here, if I look at per variable, per column, it's 10%. It'll flag that column if I have more than 10% sparsity, or it would flag a row per case based on 10%. And of course, I can change these to whatever I want. And so those are good defaults. I can determine outliers, and I can determine it based upon a number of standard deviations, which I'll use as the default, 5 standard deviations. If I wanted to, I could use a Tukey box plot and define my variables there. Also categorical variables. So if something has a value less than a certain percent here, it's ones that have 5% or less. I'm actually going to lower this. I'm going to say 1%, and it'll throw out those if there's a particular code that's less than 1% of the variables. Invariance, it labels invariant variables for me, and the reason this is important is if a variable does not have much variability in it, it's really not useful for analytics, right? So the default is coefficient of variation of 1% for continuous variables, and then I can set my percentage for categorical variables. So if it has greater than 99% of the same value, it will flag that as well. And then redundancy. So I can do continuous versus continuous with Pearson correlation of 90%. I could do continuous versus categorical for coefficient of determination of 90%, or a Kramer's phi for categorical versus categorical 90%. So I can change this. I could generate color maps. I have lots of different options here. but I'm just going to select them, and I'm going to run this for all. And this is nice because if you have a lot of data, you may not want to run a redundancy check. If you think about what that's doing pairwise comparisons. So, I mean, literally hundreds of comparisons with very few variables. So it's nice to be able to turn that off. I have I'm only using 9 variables, so I'll just leave it in this time. Oh, and the other thing that I want to do is create results. So I could just generate a report only. I could actually apply cleaning, which is going to create a downstream document. That's what we'll end up doing. Um, and we'll see that result in just a minute. If I didn't want to create a downstream document, I didn't want it to exclude anything, it would just mark the rows or columns. It wouldn't actually get rid of them. Or I could just apply data cleaning only. So if I have an automated process that's calling this workflow, I may not want to generate a report. I may just want to apply the cleaning itself. And then I have visual displays that are options as well. So I didn't change that back. So I'm going to generate a report, and I'm going to apply the data cleaning, and I'm going to get a clean downstream document. So let's see what that looks like. I'm going to go ahead and click on the play button, and that will execute now. It's calculating, performing the data health check. It's going to calculate Kramer's fee, which will take the majority of the time. And now that's finished, I get a report and a downstream document. So let's look at the report first. The report comes in, gives you a thumbnail to look at everything specified within this particular folder, everything associated with it. So I can see here I've got a number of reports. This is the report itself, an overview. So it separated continuous and categorical variables. It says that 98.51% are complete cases, right? And that only 1.5 or around 300 cases are sparse. And so it removed those 298 cases in my clean document, downstream document. We'll see that in just a second. And then outlier detection, there's a number of different outliers. There were actually 19 based upon our 5 standard deviation for amount of credit. And then when I look at most of the flag is this duration of credit. There's just some low percentage values in there, and so it actually removed 2,000 out of the roughly 20,000 cases due to that. I'd probably do some remedial work and try to figure out why that is, make sure that that's real, but we'll keep on task here and just focus on the data health check. The variable summary, it shows me what variables it flagged and why. There were too many levels for this credit score. There were outliers identified for these 3 variables here. The case summary gives me which cases were flagged and their values. I could actually append this. I can join this to existing ones and create nice comparisons and analysis for that. The descriptive stats for the continuous variables, then the case-wise descriptive stats for the amount of credit. The sparsity check, I can see here percent of missing data, and again the values that were associated with that. And again, most of them are around this purpose of credit. The missing data plot, I can see where the credit score was missing, the duration of credit, etc. Outlier detection as well. Outliers for statistics for outlying cases. Then the invariance check with the coefficient of variation, and the redundancy check for the Kramer's fee, categorical to categorical, etc. So nice report. But in the end, one of the most important things is this downstream document that it generated, because now I have a clean downstream document that I can use, and that downstream document consist of a clean data set, and that data set I can then use just automatically into my like feature selection process, my data mining, any sort of statistics that I want to generate, create models, right? I can create um, models off of that downstream document. So the bottom line is you start with messy data, you do your joins, you go through your data health check, and then you're good to go on your modeling process.